Welcome back. My name is Karen Newton. I'm the founder of Karen Newton International, where we help you build wealth, income, and lifestyle. And I've been doing a series of videos that takes you through the process of how I borrowed 300 on a credit card and grew it to 10 million in 4 years. So a quick recap before I go into today's topic. But for me, although I'd been studying how to build wealth, it came down to the fact that I didn't have a plan. And once I got that plan in place, I was able to focus 100% on what I needed to do to build the wealth. So my plan was quite simple. I was going to build side hustles. I was going to invest the profit into shares. I was going to build a property portfolio, invest in gold and silver, and then write about my experiences so that other people could do exactly the same. The writing about the experiences led to me creating information products, and that became another side hustle for me. So I have covered building side hustles, I've covered investing in dividends. So today I want to talk about how I got started in property. And the property was quite interesting because I'd arrived in the UK. My husband and I come back to the UK because my mum had died and I had lost 6 members of my family in 8 months. Now, at the time, we were living with my stepdad, and my stepdad, he was in his 70s. He wanted company, but my husband and I wanted our independence. And there was a property that was opposite where my stepdad lived. And we thought if we could buy that property, then we would be really close to him. That allowed him to have the company that he wanted. He knew we were close. We could see him every day, and we were right there with him as much as he needed during the day, but we still had some of our independence. Now, there was a property that had been empty for 5 years opposite, and we decided that we wanted that property. Now, my husband was on a tourist visa and wasn't able to work. So I had got a job as an administrator. And what we did was we went to the bank, said, Karen's working. What sort of mortgage will you give her? And the bank came back and said, as a first time buyer, I could get 95% mortgage up to a certain amount. And as long as I continued working, they were happy that I had that mortgage was available to me. So my husband started going to the estate agents and he found this property. Well, we knew it was available. We found an agent that we could talk to. And the property was on the market for 54,995. So we said to the estate agent, we're interested in that property. We can get a mortgage. This is what the bank has told us, but we don't have the 5% deposit. Would the owners be prepared to give us a gifted deposit? Now, if the deposits sort of disappeared when we had the credit crunch, there are a couple of banks that will still do them today, but they're not as available as they used to be. So we asked for a gifted deposit, and the sellers turned around and said no, they weren't prepared to sell it to us. Kept an eye on the property. About a month later, the price dropped. It had dropped to 49,995. And again, we went in, we made an offer and we asked for a gifted deposit. We offered the purchase price because we wanted this gifted deposit. And again, we were turned down. It went on for another month or two and they dropped the price down to 44,995. We made the same offer, it got declined. They dropped the price again. We went in with the same offer again and got declined. And this dragged on for several months. And eventually they offered the property at 39,995 with a gifted deposit. So we were in there like shot. So we got the property. We had the mortgage approved already by the bank. And I had a credit card that I had got when I was first started work in the UK. Since then, I had gone to New Zealand and I lived in New Zealand, but I'd kept that credit card going. I hadn't used it, it was just sat there live. And I had £300 available as credit on that card. And I borrowed that 300 to pay the legal fees, the solicitor fees, to buy the property. The property had been empty nearly 6 years by the time we bought it. And all we needed to do was paint and decorate the interior. House prices were starting to go up and the average price in the street was 65,000. And so what we did was my husband painted and decorated the place, did the bathroom, bit of work on the bathroom, just in the kitchen, and just really made it look much nicer. And we went to the bank and said, look, the value of this property is a lot more than what we've borrowed. Would you be prepared to do a remortgage for us? And they said yes. So we remortgaged that property. We paid off the first mortgage. We took the cash that was surplus cash on the property and we went to auction. And we bought a property for 7,200 at auction. The property had been up for auction. It reached 7,000. It didn't sell at 7,000. And the auctioneer said, if you're really interested in this property, come back and talk to me after the auction. So we went back, talked to him. And he said, look, if you come up with 7,200, the property is yours. So 1 month later, 28 days, completion on auction, we had a property that we had paid 7,200 for. We renovated that property. Street value at the time was around 35,000. We had paid cash for the property, renovated it. We went to the bank and said, could we have a mortgage on this property? And at the time, as an individual, we were allowed to have 5 mortgages. So my husband bought 5 properties and then I bought 5 properties. So between us, we had 10 properties. And it was at that time that buy-to-let mortgages started to come into the market. And so we found a broker who specialized in buy-to-let and he did all the financing for us after that. So we went to the bank, we got money released, got a mortgage on the property, got money released. We put a tenant into that property. We went back to auction. We bought another property. And this time we paid 11,000 for the property. Repeated the process. And that one again was another 35,000 property. So we paid 11. We got a mortgage that released more money to us. We did this again. Property prices were starting to go up at this stage. We did a 15,000, a 19,000. And by this stage, we had managed to pool together a great deal of money, and we moved into a different area and we started buying in that area. And that is the process that we just kept doing. When it got to the stage that the auction prices were not good, we have like a buyer's market and a seller's market. Right. When it's a buyer's market, it's a good time for you to go to auction because you can get good deals at auction. When it's a seller's market, you go through an estate agent. And so we started building up deals with estate agents, and we built relationships with them so that when a property became available, instead of going out onto the market, they came direct to us and said, we've got this one, we think it meets your criteria. Would you be interested in looking at it? And 9 times out of 10, we went and bought that property. We bought 60 properties within 4 years. And each of those properties, we were in a boom market. So we bought it right at the bottom when prices were low. We watched this market go up, up, up. Each of those properties that we bought were worth over 100,000 each, and that generated millions for us. So we timed the market. We did a little bit. We saw that the market was starting to go, and we focused on building the portfolio up during that income generating period. I say income generating because with the price of the properties going up, the banks were willing to give us, we got 85%. It did drop slightly to 75, but most of our mortgages were at 85%. And we had the remortgage money coming through because as those property prices went up, we remortgaged, and we were able to build this portfolio, which was worth over 6 million within that 4 years. So how did I get to 10 million? Well, that was quite simple. I was building the shares, I was building the gold and silver, and I was building the business, and all of it together gave us the 10 million. Investment cycles were the key to accelerating our growth in the property portfolio because we understood that cycle and we could use the timing in that cycle to be able to get that capital growth very, very quickly with the property. So that's the story of how we built wealth with property. So I'm going to talk to you later in the next video about how we managed to make money with gold and silver. Hope to see you on the next video. If you're enjoying these videos, please like, please subscribe. Every little bit helps me to grow this channel and helps me to get that message out to other people.